Why are fantasy books the perfect thing to read when you're cuddled up next to a fire?
Oh man, nice warm fire, fantasy book, cozy blanket, cup of tea. That sounds amazing right now.
Well, we can't do it right now because we're actually about to talk to one of my favorite fantasy book writers. So
Wait, that's today?
yeah, it's like literally right now.
Well, then I guess it's time to talk cozy to me. Welcome to Talk Cozy to Me, the podcast that's all about finding a little more cozy in your life. I'm one of your hosts, Dylan Cashbaugh.
And I'm your other host, Keetin Markey. And I would say that today, in honor of our guest, we're not going to really talk cozy, but we're going to kind of talk Hearthfire thoughts. What do you think about that?
That's very true. How dare I not say that at first? And if you've read any of the Ashen series, you probably already know what that means.
So today we are honored to be joined by the author of Road of Bones, Kingdom of Claw, Roots of Darkness, and the new Dawn of the North, one of my favorite fantasy authors, Demi Winters. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
I was a little worried about you having to hold all of those books at once. They were sizable books.
I did it.
It could be a weapon.
It's true. Which honestly, that's how books should be. You never know when you'll need a weapon while you're reading.
Don't mess with
or
the book
doorstop.
reader. Yeah. Well, no. Hopefully, hopefully not a doorstop. But Demi, thank you so much for being here. I'm trying not to geek out too much. It's truly an honor.
Thank you for having me, and I'm so glad we got to meet each other at Romantasy Book Con.
Yes. That was so much fun. I got to meet Molly as well and meet a bunch of your fans, which was really, really cool. And yeah, it's just.
I still have FOMO that I wasn't able to go. I had this annoying thing called work that got in the way, so...
Man, when work gets in the way of reading and like hobbies...
Right? It's so lame.
What's wrong with you?
I'm so sorry. All right, well, anyways, before we dive too much into the conversation, we always got to start with hot cocoa. Hot cocoa is something that we experienced recently that made us feel a little warm and fuzzy, optimistic about the world. Instead of spilling the tea, we sipped the hot cocoa. Keetin, do you want to start or should I?
Sure, I guess I can start. So my hot cocoa this week, one of my favorite series has come back for, sadly, its final season. Outlander is one of the books that I fell in love with romance. I love history. I love romance. It's also fantasy. Yep. And I used to do a podcast for Outlander, and I've gotten to interview the whole cast. And to see kind of the story come to this conclusion is bittersweet. And it's been one of my favorite adaptations from a book that I've seen go to screen with Ronald D. Moore and his team. And so it's just been so fun, and it's like, oh, it's back, and all these characters I love are back, but also it's the last time it's coming back, and so now I'm going to savor every episode, but I'm so stoked, and I've gotten my entire family into Outlander, my husband, my in-laws, and we did our engagement shoot in Scotland because of my love of Outlander, and so yes, Outlander is back, and I was very excited that it's back. So that was my hot cocoa for the week.
At least we have a spin-off series happening. So.
Yes, we do. Yeah. Very exciting. What's your hot cocoa?
My hot cocoa is definitely topical for today's episode because it is because of today's episode that I started a new fantasy book series that I love fantasy, and I feel like, really this is a lesson for me because Keetin had been bugging me to start reading these for, I feel like over a year.
Yeah.
And then this episode finally got me to, and I'm just really enjoying reading Road of Bones. I'm an incredibly slow reader, so I'm only halfway through, but I know that I'm going to keep going because it's such a fun world. So thanks, Demi, for sharing this story with us and for helping to make my life a little more warm and cozy.
I love that. I actually had a few people come up to me at Romantasy Book Con and say that their husbands told them about the book, and that's how they found it. And so I love that husbands are reading it. That gives me so much joy.
It's such a cool world, and at least so far, every chapter that I finish, I'm like, I kind of want to start the next one.
I've never had this man stay up so late reading. Usually that's me. And I'm like the one that's like, he's like, are you going to go to bed yet? I'm like, no, just one more chapter. And he's been staying up so late reading this.
It's really bad for me, probably.
No.
Sorry to your sleep schedule.
Worth it. Demi, do you have some hot cocoa that you'd be up for sharing?
I have had so much hot cocoa this month. February was incredible. I traveled to something like 12 different cities, and I had 8 events, I think, plus 2 book conferences. Like, it was jam-packed, and I just met so many readers and got to meet people who were impacted by my words. I had a group of women in recovery come up to me at my St. Louis stop and just be like, thank you for writing the addiction storyline. I had a domestic abuse survivor come up to me at Romantasy BookCon and be like, thank you for writing Hecla's character. So I don't know. Those are the moments for me that is really hard to top. Meeting the people face to face who are... I don't know, writing can be such a solitary job. And so to like actually connect with people and see what impact, the book has had on them is amazing. But I have to say, like, my biggest hot cocoa moment was coming home and being back with my family and my kids and my cats. And it's just been like really nice to fall back into a routine. Just feel like a bit of normalcy again. So I guess that's like a lot of hot cocoa moments.
You are overflowing with hot cocoa, and that is a blessing. So we love to hear it.
Maybe some like marshmallows.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Well, and I again was lucky enough to meet you at RomanticyCon in LA, which was so exciting. And speaking of, the woman who came up to you who is a domestic abuse survivor, I think I recently got into jiu-jitsu, specifically women's self-defense. And I think one of the reasons why I've committed to it is because of the Hecla storyline and also Scylla.
No.
Scylla wanting to be able to protect herself. And I maybe not have gone through some of that trauma that other people have, but I think it's just like, yes, I'm reading about these really strong women and these women who are wanting to take control of their lives. And so I want to do the same. And so, yeah, thank you for all this incredible inspiration and these characters. I just love them so much.
Oh, I love that. That's so cool to hear. I need some of that motivation. I need to go learn some jujitsu or something. I would be screwed.
We read this great book called Road of Bones. Maybe you should check that out, and then you'll get the inspiration.
I got tagged in a post the other day. Someone was saying she was at like spin class and she was listening to Roots of Darkness, and Hecla was like channeling her inner warrior or something. And she's like hearing Hecla's voice while she's like on her spin bike, like, go faster, work harder. Just cracks me up.
All right. Well, I guess a little bit of, setup backstory for you to start. I guess, have you always wanted to be an author? Kind of what was your journey that led to becoming a writer?
I have a crazy career trajectory. I've actually been really clear with my kids that you do not have to pick a career when you're 18 and stick with it for the rest of your life, because that's how I was raised, and that has not been my experience. And there's always been this like a little bit of a sense of like failure when I pivot, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. Whereas I think we need to reframe that as just a new chapter and following your heart. And but so yeah, I wrote stories as a kid, and I loved writing stories. I never had a plan, and when I got older and the stories got more complex, they kind of just petered out after a few chapters. So there was like a lot of ideas but not a lot of follow through. And then I went to university and I was in the sciences, and there was just like no time for reading, except for textbooks. No time for writing, anything like that. So for a long time, I didn't read or write. And then, so I actually got my PhD in biochemistry. Like, I went to school for a really long time. But by the end of that, I was like, okay, I don't want a career in science. Like, I thought I did, but then when I saw like the day-to-day realities of it, I was like, wow, okay, for my mental health, I need to pivot. And at the time, I had picked up food blogging as a hobby, and I was seeing people were doing it and making money off it. And so I kind of figured out how they were doing it, and I did that for myself. And so by the time that I finished my PhD, I was able to pivot into food blogging, which is a crazy move. This is where I say I felt the guilt, because I was like, oh my gosh, I just spent like 6 years of higher education, and now I'm pivoting. But it was like the best choice for me and my family. Like I could work from home. I spent so much more time with my kids, and I was just had this like creative spark back in my life. And so then eventually that also kind of ran its course for me personally. This is just like the longest winded story of the most random career trajectory.
I'm so
I'm
here
in,
for
I'm
it.
in.
Yeah, I'm invested.
So with food blogging, a lot of people will chase like Google search results. And that's where, you know, the money is essentially. If you can rank really high for like how to cook salmon or how to freeze strawberries or something like that, you will get more page views and you will get more ad revenue. And so for a long time, I chased that and I just like lost all my creativity. I lost that like really fulfilling part of the job because I was sort of like chasing the Google clicks. And even at a certain point, I try to kind of revitalize it and do some more creative recipes and try different, you know, media formats. I just couldn't get that spark back that I was missing. And so I thought, you know, I used to like writing stories as a kid. Like maybe I should try that again as an adult, you know, just for something fun to have back in my life. But then it was like a switch being flipped. Like as soon as I started looking at writing and like building this story out, and then I was like, oh, this isn't just a story. This is like a 5-book series and like crazy world building and all this stuff. And I was like, well, if I'm going to be spending this much time on it, then, you know, I would like people to read my words and I would like to, you know, sell the books. And so I kind of thought maybe I can pivot into writing. And so that's kind of what happened over the course of 3 years. I was, you know, running my blog while writing. And then eventually when I got my book deal, I was able to sell my food blog. And now I'm fully a writer.
Yeah.
Yes, that's incredible.
Yeah, sorry, that was so long-winded.
No.
It's like hard to explain.
But I think it's like, again, it that is so inspiring because I think often I so connected when you said the thing about, oh, you know, when you feel like you're pivoting a job, it sometimes feels like a failure, right? Like that kind of weight.
Yeah.
I've worked so hard, I've put so much time and effort and money into this one thing. But if there's one thing that you're always doing and it's following your heart, sometimes dreams change and that's okay. Mm-hmm. And you're going to be happier and your mental health is going to be better if you follow your heart. And eventually it will lead to kind of success because you're doing it from like the right place. So, and you're obviously proof of that.
Yeah. And you have to like, I've always tried to be really practical about it. Like I wasn't like getting rid of my, you know, the income of the food blog until I was sure that I was going to have like a reasonable salary we could live on from writing. So like, obviously you can't just like chase your dreams like a squirrel. You have to be like intentional about it.
No Kritka kind of chaos.
No Kritka. Yeah.
All right. And also though, like, I just want to acknowledge too, you dove into writing, but you didn't decide, oh, I'm going to write a novel set in contemporary times. Like, no, you picked fantasy, which involves essentially creating an entire world and a book series right away. Like, you kind of dove into the deep end with it, too. Like, what drew you to doing that?
Oh, my gosh. I did so many things that I would do differently now that I've, like, learned. I mean, I also picked Icelandic as like a language to base my series on. And that's like, I think one of the world's hardest languages to learn or something. So yeah, no, so in terms of writing fantasy, I mean, I love reading fantasy and it's been something I've always loved reading. I love the world building. I love the sense of escapism you get when you're in a new world. And, you know, like I read a lot of fantasy in the 90s, but I always kind of struggled to connect with the characters. I feel like in the 90s and, you know, early 2000s, I feel like maybe it began to change a little in the early 2000s, but it was very like plot driven and not as much character driven. And so it wasn't until I discovered ACOTAR, like I discovered it like early on when it was published, but I was like, oh, this is what I want to read. Like, and at the time it was harder to find books like that because, you know, ACOTAR was like supposedly YA. Like, I
Which
don't
is
know
weird.
if it's really YA.
It should not be YA.
Yeah. And so like I was searching for more of that in the YA space, and it turns out I probably should have been looking in like the paranormal space. But anyways, yeah, it was, I wanted to write something, you know, with relatable characters. But I really wanted the sense of escapism that you get from world building.
I love that. And you bring up ACOTAR, and I think ACOTAR has been a lot of our gateway drugs back into fantasy and reading, as at least for me, and I know a lot of my friends as well. But we just saw like Sarah J. Maas on kind of one of the biggest podcasts and platforms as a fantasy writer. What is it like for you as a fantasy writer to see kind of just kind of this genre blow up and become such a big part of just kind of I guess social discourse and stuff?
I think it just goes to show that women are maybe sometimes pigeonholed into certain things. Like, you know, fantasy, I feel like, has traditionally been a very like male dominated field. There aren't as many women writers, and the books often center a male lead. And so I think it just goes to show that, you know, we are interested in this as well. And yeah, the whole like romantasy field blossoming is just like proof. Yeah.
We all need that escape. What are some of your like favorite books that you're reading now in this genre?
No. I say oh no because it's like as soon as I get asked that, every single book I've ever read like vanishes from my mind. Okay. I just finished Stormbreaker by Nisha J. Tooley. So that is a YA dystopian, and it's going to be really big. It's really cool. The world building is really, really cool. And it's just like one of those books where it's like every chapter ends on like not a cliffhanger, but you're like, oh my God, I got to read this one more chapter, one more. So that one was amazing. I also just finished Half City by Kate Golden, which is like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, kind of with like maybe a bit of Crescent City. It is so good. And so basically I was in Kate's DMs like, what is happening in book 2? And now she sent me an advanced copy of book 2. So now I'm reading Cursed City, and it's even better than book 1. I don't know what she's put in these books, but they're insane. The dynamics between the FMC and the MMC are so fun.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I guess that's now we can pivot to books we're reading right now, which the Ashen series itself. And I think like too, because while I've been reading all these series, and I'm very similar to you because I'm like, oh my gosh, I've read so many at this point. Yours was the first book that I was like, oh my God, my husband would love this. 2, the first book where I was my heart was ripped out by a certain character in a way. And spoilers for the Ashen series ahead a little bit. I'm sorry, babe.
Yep, I know.
But the way breaks your heart in this series, I had never experienced something like that. To the point where I DM'd you and I was like, oh my, and then you DM'd me back and I was like, like, oh my gosh. And so one, thank you for that, because that's such a cool thing just as a reader and as a fan. And 2, tell me a little bit about just kind of, you know, what initially sparked this huge story and these incredible characters.
That's a very good question because, I mean, and I get asked all the time, like, what was the inspiration? And it's like, there's not like one specific moment that sparked the whole story. Like it came to me in pieces, and I don't know, I say it came to me, but it was more like I had to excavate it. Like I had to sit down with a notepad and like brainstorm, and I worked with a plotting sort of system to make sure I hit certain plot beats, because like I said, as a child, when I wrote, my stories would meander and then just kind of die off. So I was like, okay, if I want to do this and I actually want to finish the story, I want to know where this is going. So plotting really helped me figure out the book. There were a few books that I was reading at the time that influenced me. The Grishaverse by Leigh Bardugo. I loved how her magic was kind of like classified and kind of like had rules. And also Brendan Sanderson, I read his Stormlight archives, and I just loved how his world was so fully integrated, like the magic system and like the culture and just everything had a purpose and was interlinked. And I was like, okay, I got to go deeper with my magic system. And another book that influenced me was The Handmaid's Tale. So, the pillars and like the brutal public executions and stuff, that kind of was inspired from The Handmaid's Tale. And I don't like to platform this author, but the American Gods book helped me make a very critical link. But yeah, there was also a moment when I was watching a Facebook video of a volcano erupting, and it was in Iceland. And that is like stands out to me as one of the few moments where I had like a light bulb moment of my book is going to be set in Iceland with forests. I needed a forest.
I want to dive a little bit deeper into that just because like I have never been to Iceland, but I have wanted to go for so long that I've seen like so many like travel documentaries and things like that about it. And I think it's such an interesting and cool choice to like base a fantasy world on that. So what was why Iceland, I guess, other than seeing a cool volcano? And then two, like what kind of research went into that? Like, how did you build this world out in that way?
Yeah. So first of all, I've never been to Iceland either. I'm dying to go. I know I get the same reaction every time. I cannot go without my husband, and my kids are kind of in a difficult age. Like, we can't really leave them and we can't take them. If that makes sense. Just, I have my, it's hard to get into. But
no worries.
Someday I will go to Iceland. I'm like, I don't want to embarrass my whole family on social media, but like, I'm not flying to Iceland with my 8-year-old currently until we get some things sorted. Okay, so the reason I picked Iceland was I love the contrast. I love that it's like beautiful. Like you see, it's got glaciers and it's got volcanoes, and there's these rugged fjords and these, black sand beaches and basalt columns, but then there's these like rolling fields of lupin flowers, and just like the contrasts of soft and hard and cold and fire. That's what I was like, oh, that is such a good world. And from there, naturally, Vikings came. And I did a lot of research. I knew nothing about Vikings. I had like seen a couple seasons of the Uhtred, Son of Uhtred show.
I
can't remember what it's called, like Lost Kingdom or Last Kingdom.
Oh,
I always get it confused. Anyways, then I did a lot of research into culture and, what kind of food they ate, what kind of clothes they wore, and Viking like warfare tactics and things like that. So I read a lot of books. So Children of Ashen Elm was a helpful resource. I also read this like giant book of Icelandic sagas, and that helped me get a real feel for like the culture and their sense of justice and just like day-to-day life, even though it's like, the way that the sagas work is they were written by a guy in like 1300 AD, but the events in the book happened at like 900 to 1000 AD. So, there's like a 300-year lag here. So you're never really sure how accurate they are. I also did read and sort of research Norse mythology, but I knew that I wanted to do my own riff on it. But I still think like having certain touchstones within classical Norse mythology can kind of help make it feel more authentic. Like, for example, I have a god of chaos who, there's Loki, who is like not necessarily just pure chaos, but that's definitely one of his features.
Mirka. I don't know if you've met him yet.
You'll meet him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
I'll get there.
yes.
I'm in no rush.
You will. You will. I guess too, like, you've written languages, it seems like. I mean, are like how many different languages have you kind of written, or are all these languages pulled from kind of like other languages you've studied?
Yeah, so the language in the Ashen series is based on Icelandic and / or Old Norse, because supposedly Icelandic and Old Norse are very, very similar. Whereas like mainland Scandinavian has evolved quite a bit. So I did base a lot of the words and places and locations based on that. A lot of the names were pulled from the sagas, like Gunnar, Sigrun. These are like classic names from the sagas. There's also a lot of Thors. Thorstein and Thorville and Thor blah, blah, blah. And I kind of stayed away from that just because, I don't have a Thor in my world. But, and then in terms of, in book 2, you meet Cassander Rurik, and he is from a mysterious isle of Zagadka. And that is actually the Russian word for mystery. Oh. So that language is Russian. If I were to have been more accurate, it would have been like a Proto-Slavic language, but nothing like that exists today, and I don't know how I would even have begun to like figure that out. So I stuck with modern Russian, and I had translators help me make sure that like Google Translate wasn't doing me wrong, and also to make audio files for my narrator.
That was literally my next question, because I'm the type of person who I always get the hard copy, but I also have the audiobook because in Los Angeles, I spend a lot of time in the car. So I'm like literally always, okay, what chapter am I on? Making sure my audiobook is tuned up before I get in the car so then I can play it and listen to it on my commute and stuff. And your audio narrator is phenomenal. She is one of my favorites. Like, did you have to just do a whole meeting with her for all the pronunciations? Because my goodness.
It's kind of crazy that she produced that, because I was so new. Like, I got picked up by my audio production company the day after I released my book. Oh, wow. I don't know how they found me or what. So I was just like such a new baby author, as we call them, and I didn't know what I was doing. So I thought I would get audition tapes, but in the end I went on Audible and played the samples. And so I found her samples, and I played a bunch of her samples from her book she'd narrated. And I was like, wow, she has great range. So I sent her to my people and being like, she seems good. I assumed they were going to send me like, some examples to make sure. But no, they went ahead. They booked her and recorded the entire audiobook. And I was like, oh my God, okay. So they do always ask you for like pronunciation for names, locations, and so also I had sent over a whole bunch of these audio files for the hard to pronounce stuff. And then when I got her file, I was like, oh my God, she's amazing. So long story short, I think I just got incredibly lucky. And I love her, I adore her, and I hope that I can keep working with her forever, because she's just the best.
Whenever I had to when I switched to a new audio person, I was like, it's not the same. It's because like there's a cadence to her voice too that is just it's very warm but strong, and I just really love that about her.
Yeah, I just can't believe her range. Like when she did, oh my gosh, when I was listening to the Dawn of the North audiobook, anytime I got to a Cassander Rurik or Kritka the talking squirrel, I was like, my face, I was just so delighted.
I love Kritka so much. One of my favorite. You'll meet Kritka.
I guess I need to listen to like some of the audiobook. I've only been reading the physical copy.
I told you,
now
man.
I need to check out the audiobook.
You got to check out the audiobooks.
Diving a little bit into some fun tidbits about the writing of at least the first book. I saw an Instagram post that I think you posted about the origin of one of my favorite phrases from the book, Hearthfire thoughts. Do you mind sharing a little bit about the story of where that originated and what it means to you?
Yeah, so I always knew Scylla was going to be like this bubbly sunshine character. And for me, she's actually like a transplant from a modern rom-com into this like brutal Viking world. Like she's total fish out of water. And so I was like, well, how is she going to like talk herself up? Like, how is she going to maintain this when her world is falling apart? And so originally they were called bubbly thoughts. And I was like, she's going to think bubbly thoughts. A lot of things evolved. This was like before it was even Vikings. Like, it was just medieval then. She was going to have bubbly thoughts, the thoughts that made her feel like she drank a glass of champagne, which also did not exist in the Viking age as far as I know. So a lot of things evolved. I was like, eventually, I think Hearthfire thoughts might have come in one of the last drafts, to be honest. And now I'm like, thank God I changed that, because bubbly doesn't fit the Viking world at all. But yeah, Hearthfire thoughts came from her, you know, wanting to talk herself up, wanting to maintain that positive outlook when everything is going wrong, and make her feel like her insides are warmed by a Hearthfire. It's kind of like a cup of hot cocoa, really.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
She's finding her inner coziness.
No, for sure. I mean, that's why I like, these books are cozy to me.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
like,
I love that.
I know that it's you know, there's so much action in these books. There's and there's betrayal, and there's violence, and there's gore in these books too. It goes through the gambit, and there's love. But I think the thing that is so cozy about this book is the world you've created, even though it is a very scary world, because it's obviously Vikings, Norse mythology. I mean, there are vampire deer. Read the books if you want to know what vampire deer are. But there is, I don't know, there is just something so magical, and like it just makes you want to sit next to a fire and be and like cozy up to somebody that you love. And and so it's like, it's hard not to think happy thoughts when like you're in this world, which is weird.
Well, and I do think Scylla's a great
I love that.
vessel for that too, is because she looks at the same world that other characters are looking at, and she sees it differently. She finds the good in that world, and I think there is just I think there is something cozy and comforting about finding positivity, even in what are very dark times in a lot of ways. So I think that's what we all need more of.
Yeah, for sure. And then there is a point where, I mean, I don't know if this came out very clearly or not, but like when Scylla and Ray are kind of arguing on the horse, and he's like kind of pointing out that her positivity is like maybe a little much. Like maybe she's like a little bit toxic positive. And whereas he is toxic negative. So, you know, there's like extremes of both sides of things for sure.
And like, tell me about, so obviously you didn't go into this thinking this was going to be a 5-book series with a novella. And I don't know if there might be another novella, but what do you think about like the tones of each book? And did you have a favorite book to write? Do you have a favorite character voice to write? Tell me about kind of like your love or your struggles when it comes to this world that you've created.
Yeah, so I don't have a favorite book that I've written except for the one that I'm like always, it's the one that I'm currently writing. Mm-hmm. I think you have to fall like really in love with your work while you're writing it, but then you have to cut the cord because it goes out in the world and it's no longer you. Like, I think that for me is really important, you know, when you're putting a book out there and people are going to review it and have their own opinions. I am very good at separating myself from my work. Like, I don't take, you know, a negative review as a criticism of me. I take it as like, oh, they didn't either. I'm a little delusional. Sometimes I'm like, this wasn't for them, or they didn't get it. They missed the whole point. Or, I mean, yeah, that's sort of how I view it. But also like when they do have a point, sometimes I'm like, oh, that's true. That's fair enough. So yeah, I my favorite character to write though, I have to say, is Cassandra Rurik, because he is like a chaos demon. He has thrown so many wrenches in my plans. I'm just like, what's he gonna do next? I don't know. And
I'm scared.
he's had really good reception from my readers, which I love because he's been in my head as long as other characters have been in my head. Yeah. I love writing a good animal companion. Like,
I mean, it was when I was reading not Dawn of the Doors, when I was reading Roots of Darkness, I was like, wait, I'm sorry, are we getting? Because it almost feels like oh my God, in Enchanted, if you've ever seen the movie Enchanted, her her little chipmunk that is like trying to tell her how like not to do stupid things and stuff. Like that's in my head, that's who Kritka is the chipmunk in Enchanted.
I need to watch Enchanted now.
Oh my God.
It's so good.
You'll be like, oh my gosh. And the chipmunk will go from animated version into real life, because when she goes from the animated world as a princess into falling into the real world, you'll enjoy it. It's very fun and kid friendly. So highly recommend.
I love that.
All right. So I have heard a lot of authors talk about how oftentimes the story kind of like comes to them, and it's not like you necessarily always know where things are going. I'm curious if there is, during your writing process, is there anything that surprised you the most? Like whether it was like a character choice or something like that, like something that you never expected, but then that just felt right for the story.
Yeah. So I was just laughing because like I wish that a story would just come to me and pour out of me, and I could just like write it and have it out. That's not been my experience. I have to think for my ideas. Like I do sometimes, things occur to me and I'll write them down. But, the big things, I have to sit down with pen and paper and write them out. Like just today, I was troubleshooting some stuff in this scene. I'm like, wow, this scene is all out of order. I need to like get some order in here. It's just like, so... Yeah, I do have a plan when I sit. I'm still figuring out my process. So I approached book 3 with like a 90-page outline, and I wanted my editor to look it over ahead of time and be like, yep, or nope, or let's rework this. And so we did like I had some small bits of suggestions from her on that, but then I wrote it, and I was hoping to avoid rewrites, but then I ended up Act 2 in the end wasn't working. And so I had to like completely rewrite it. I spent 2 months rewriting Act 2 to get rid of all this miscommunication that was happening that was super unenjoyable to read. Like I had to write fully new scenes and trash others. And so my 90-page outline did not seem to save me any time. So this time I only had like a 40-page outline. And also book 3 was hard to write because there are like essentially 4 storylines, and I have to get them to come together at a certain point. And so it was really tricky to write. And I can see that in like, now that I'm out of that writing process, I can be like, that was hard to write. Thankfully, readers are enjoying it, because you never know when something is hard to write if it's going to like read fun. But book 4 has been like an exhale, and I can't explain why without you finishing Dawn of the North.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
Well, now everybody should. I mean, Dawn of the North, your third book, did just come out about a month ago.
Yeah.
And it is, but you've kind of eased us into the different points of view a little bit. Like first book is like completely about Scylla, right? And then we get introduced at the end of that book to another character. And then the second book jumps between Scylla and said other character and maybe adds a little, point of view from a third character at some points. And then this book, it's so fun because it's like, it's similar to like, it's not like a full cliffhanger, but you finish a chapter and then we're going to a character that you finished that chapter maybe 2 chapters ago. So you're like, oh, okay, wait, we're back. What are we going to find out now? And I don't know. I love that. I think it's very fun. It's like, it again makes you want to just keep reading because you're like, wait, I got to get to, the next Scylla chapter, or the next Saga chapter, the next, but yeah. I really enjoy that.
I'm so glad.
I'm sorry that's as hard to write.
Oh, no, I think it was just that like when I wrote books 1 and 2, I hadn't mapped out the entire series. I did, in the process of writing them, I did map out the rest of the books. And so like I was able to weave things in. But then when I got to book 3, it was kind of like I had there was a lot of threads. And I was like, we cannot keep going wider. We need to tighten it back in. So book 3 was kind of like a pivoting book where I'm like, okay, we're going to like narrow things back down again. But yeah, I always try to make sure each book has like its own central conflict that gets resolved or not resolved, but like either way. There's some sort of like resolution. And so that way the reader hopefully feels some forward momentum with each book in the series.
I feel it. I'm
All right,
ready.
well, I guess for anyone in the audience or sitting right here who has not yet read Dawn of the North, can you tease a little bit of like what readers can expect from it?
You can expect a bit of a Beauty and the Beast storyline for one character. You can expect a winged horse, which isn't a spoiler because it's on the cover. That was inspired a little bit by the Valkyries and a little bit by the Pecheneg tribes who were like on the steppe in Turkey way back in the day. And you can expect to learn a bit more about Cassandra Rurick's homeland. You can expect some politics happening in Copa. A curse / bargain that is causing chaos. And the main conflict for Dawn of the North is the tree in the woods that the mist in the woods that the Blood X crew have been sent to investigate. That is the central conflict of Dawn of the North.
And you know about
I
like
do know
like
about
you
that.
know about that because that starts
You know about the tree.
in book 1.
Oh my god, I don't get a conclusion to that yet?
Nobody,
Oh my god.
nobody.
No. See, that's why I had to map out the series because I was like, oh, I need to know like some details for this like whole mist, conflict so that I can set it up properly. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited. So you've kind of teased a little bit that you are working on book 4. And I am the last person to ever want to rush an author or anything, but do you have a plan of when you think book 4 might be coming our way?
Yeah, so I mean, I always say it takes me a year to write each book, at least a year. So I would expect book 4 probably sometime in 2027. I am a little bit behind where I was this time last year with book 3, but I'm hoping, knock on wood, not to have quite as many rewrites. So all this to say, I'm aiming for early 2027, but I don't know. A lot of that also is up to my publisher.
Any novellas that we might be getting as well, or are we just looking at the big books moving forward?
I mean, my focus is going to be on the large books. I love people have loved reading Hekla's novella, which I love as well, but it was kind of like my publisher didn't really know what to do with it, and they're just not as keen on publishing novellas versus the larger books. And the only reason this novella even exists is because the story was supposed to go in Kingdom of Claw, but that book was already like over 600 pages and it had too much. It was pretty, I think the storylines were relatively like woven together. And so to like force Hekla's story in there would have really messed up the pacing. It would have taken away from the central story of that book. So yeah, instead she got her own little side quest.
Love a side quest.
I do too. So one of the, and I guess this kind of goes back to the fact that you never expected this kind of career trajectory for you. But you truly, within the fantasy world, as the fantasy world, romantasy, fantasy book world has kind of blown up in itself, you've now kind of skyrocketed to being such a huge part of the popular conversation, looking at, like, when I say Sarah J. Maas, I will say Demi Winters in the same sentence because, like, that's kind of on par of, like, the books and how much I love them. What has that been like for you as kind of this budding author to have this rise to fame so quickly and, have all these fans all of a sudden who, are in love with you and the stories you've written?
First of all, thank you. Second of all, I don't know that I've wrapped my brain around this yet. So when I first released The Road of Bones, I self-published it and I had spent 2 years working on it. And so I had done multiple rounds of beta readers and I had worked with the developmental editor and I had a lot of feedback and I finally got it to a place where I was like, well, I like it. Which if you've ever written anything, you know how hard it is to say that about your own work. I think for me, putting out something that I liked, that I was proud of, was really important, because then when reviews started coming in, it hardened me to any criticism. But I was surprised to see that there wasn't a lot of criticism. I was like, oh my gosh, so my taste levels and other people's taste levels are aligned. And that to me was like the biggest shock. I don't know, because I'm really picky. I was really picky about the book, really picky about what I like. And it's often hard to even like put into words what it is. Like I either like it or I don't. And anyways, it was lovely to see that people liked it. But I haven't felt... I mean, I would say since Dawn of the North's release, there's been a real uptick in interest with the books. And it's so strange to me that people like recognize me and stuff. So I'm very much still getting used to that. I'm also kind of adjusting on social media. I found that I was, and I think it has to do with just it being a release month, just like spending too much time on social media. And I was like, I need to write book 4. Like I cannot get swept away in this. And so I put a little bit more of a buffer between me and people on social media. I was like, oh wow, I think I've officially hit the point where I've given people too much access, where people are constantly asking me for things. And I'm like, I mean, I can like do all these things and never write, or, it just came to a point where I have to prioritize. So I'm very much still pivoting and adjusting, and I'm just thrilled that my words are connecting with readers. It's something I'll never take for granted. I get to do what I love for a living, and it's because of my readers. So yeah, it's just amazing, and I'm so blessed.
I love that.
I mean, as 2 of your readers, we are very grateful that you are prioritizing writing. If we get in the way of you doing that, we are sorry.
Boundaries are important.
No, oh my gosh, and I don't mean you guys.
Us specifically.
Yeah, you guys are the reason that
true.
I'm going to be 4 months
Right?
late. No, I'm just kidding.
They can blame us.
No, what I've had to do though, after this month, I'm just like not going to be doing podcasts for a while. So I'm really glad that I got to speak with you guys.
Thank you.
Because I was like, wow, I need to put some like, and it's for myself, because I will make like any excuse not to write. Like I have a PhD in procrastination, I sometimes say. So
Biochem and procrastination. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the 2 pillars of science, right?
So before we wrap up, I would be remiss, as somebody who does work in TV and who does love any type of adaptation of book to screen. Would you ever consider making a screen adaptation for the Ashen series?
100%. That would be so cool. Although I have to say that if I did, I would probably have a like hands-off approach. I would probably be like, let them have the rights and see what they do. But I don't know that I would, and I would have some things that, non-negotiables, like the diversity in the world, and that certain ways that characters are represented. I would not want that to be stripped from the story, but I would be very open to, restructuring, like if, book 2 and book 1 had to kind of like, meld together. Anyway, what I'm saying is I think screenwriters know how to craft a story for screen better than I do. So I would probably just like, let them do their thing.
So do you already have your dreamcast in mind then? Just know exactly who everyone's played by?
I mean, okay, so for a long time, I did not have a very good fan cast for Rey. I kept saying like M'Baku from Black Panther, but he's so vivacious, and like his personality and Rey's personality, they don't match. Then I saw Anthony Joshua punch out Jake Paul, and he did it with that smirk on his face, and I was like, oh, that's Axe Eyes. So
I love that.
Yeah, like I do have like a fan cast, and I always picture like Lily Collins, but like a younger Lily Collins, like Immortal Instruments era. She's kind of who I had in my mind for Scylla. And oh, I'm totally blanking on his name. The guy who was in Sons of Anarchy.
I know who you're
talking.
talking.
Guy.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, I'm just spacing.
Oh my God.
Charlie Hunnam?
Yeah, right? Isn't that Charlie
Yes,
Hunnam?
Charlie
Yeah.
Hunnam.
Charlie
Yes.
Hunnam. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's such a Jonas. Yeah, he's such a Jonas.
So, yeah.
I love that. What about, because do you know who I picture with Signy specifically? I picture like a Michelle Pfeiffer or like a Gwyneth Paltrow, like just like
Totally.
I mean, I think they're a little old for her because I think she's younger, but like a younger version of like, it's just, she is a, because she would remind you of Cersei Lannister when you meet her.
Okay.
A little bit.
That's 100% who she was inspired by. Like Cersei meets like the White Queen, the White Witch from Narnia kind of vibes.
Yes.
But with Vikings.
For sure. And I also I also, there are times when Signy makes it, like her backstory sometimes makes her such a good villain because you kind of get some of her choices, even though you don't agree with them, but you understand why she's so hurt and evil, which I think that makes the best villains.
Me too. I always need to know their motives. Like I have, King Ivar, I'm not going to lie, he's just kind of just a bad, evil guy. He's kind of like the patriarchy, my feminine rage, writing in this just like one-dimensional bad guy, because we just need that. But then, I like for my villains to have like reasons. I mean, even Ivar, as one single dimensional as he is, he believes so wholeheartedly in his family's legacy that he's just got blinders on. He's not turning away from that path. But yeah,
awesome. I mean, I really want to ask who if you have a Dreamcast for Saga, because Saga I think is the one that I struggle with in my head because I have a couple. It keeps changing who I would think of her as.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm going on my Pinterest because my muse for her is like a model. I think she's a Russian model. Where are you? And for Cass, oh, here she is. And I can never, like, of course, her name is Nastya Kusakina. Ooh. And this is like what she looks like. That's my Saga.
Yes. Thank you for that image now.
For Cassander, like, it's so funny because my Pinterest board still says Cassander with a C and an ER at the end. He originally was like Irish. He was going to be like mischievous Irish guy. And then I was like, Russian. That's like so much more mysterious. So it's this guy.
Ooh, yes.
He's got a smoldering look and his name is Goncalo Texeria.
I love it.
Or Gonzalo. I don't know if it's a soft or hard. I need to actually get pronunciation. I get asked this so often. I really need to know how to say his name. Gonzalo Texera.
I like how you're like, they can do whatever they want with it, but here, but you have like the vision, and I love that you have the vision, and it's so clear, and I can't wait to see the announcement that this has been picked up for a series or a movie deal, because I think it's just a matter of time. And if I have anything to do with it, I will try to get a job on said project because I will be like, I want to do this, like so bad. But anything else still before we?
I guess if people really are intrigued by your writing or just want to learn more about you, where can they do that?
I'm most active on Instagram, although like with the caveat that my Instagram is managed by my PA mostly at the moment. Molly, by the way, she's lovely. And I can also be found on Threads. That's where I just like post my brain, what I'm doing. And then I used TikTok for like more like promotional stuff. I don't know. TikTok is like the dance floor, where I put my stuff out there, and then like Instagram is more like community based, and Threads is just random me.
Love it.
I love it. And at Demi Winters across the board?
Yeah. At Demi Winters Writes.
Got it.
Okay.
Perfect. Well, any final thoughts before we kind of wrap up the interview, or anything to final thoughts on getting people to read the Ashen series, on the coziness, on Hearthfire thoughts. Any final words?
Well, I have to say you're like the first person who's ever described it as cozy. But I guess it is like the kind of book you want to wrap up in a blanket, and if it's like snowing outside, that could add to the ambiance. But like there is I like to say that it's like if Throne of Glass and the Viking series had a baby, because it's like kind of bloody like the Viking series, but it has that romantic and happily ever after feel of Throne of Glass with the adventure, if that makes sense. Multiple romances, multiple point of views, but it's not YA.
No, because it gets spicy.
I'm like, that's the problem when I say YA. When I say Throne of Glass, people are going to think it's YA. That's my only like caveat. It's like YA, but not YA.
It is definitely a spicy book, but just makes you feel cozier, right?
I think fantasy. I think transporting my brain to another world, especially if done while cuddled up by a fire or something, is always going to be cozy. So I've had a very cozy time reading it, even though parts of it are less so in some ways.
There's some scary
Even
parts.
when she's wrestling a vampire deer.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's the thing with romantasy is that you always, there's like a genre norm of romance is that there's going to be a happily ever after.
Yeah.
And so with fantasy, you don't have that safety. Like, has anyone read Mistborn? Scarred for life.
I was just given this book, and I'm very like I was given the Brandon Sanderson
so
starter pack for my
good.
birthday, and so I'm excited to get into Brandon Sanderson, but I'm scared because everyone has been telling me
I'm
for
sorry.
years. It's okay.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, but it's going to tear out your heart. But in romantasy, at least in my series, I believe in happily ever afters, and I can't imagine ending it on like a tragic note. So
Oh,
Yeah.
I hope not. You've already torn out my heart in book one, but
sorry, there will be pain along the way, but
Yeah.
like at the end, you'll be happy, hopefully.
yeah, I can't imagine not being.
My heart hasn't been torn out yet, so I'm sure it'll come soon.
Maybe we should bleep when I said the name, just so when people are listening, they're not like anticipating it. So,
It's probably the worst kept secret, anyways.
well, Demi, this has been such a joy. We're so grateful you took the time away from writing book 4 to talk cozy books and your process with us. We are very honored to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you for sharing your Hearthfire thoughts.
Oh yeah, that was fun. I should do that more
Right?
in the day to day.
Yes.
Like, take a little Scylla for myself.
Yeah, if we have like a bad day, it's like, what's your hot cocoa? But it can be, what's your Hearthfire thought today if you're not in a good mood?
Yeah.
And it can bring you back
Yeah.
to the coziness of life.
I love that.
That was the incredible Demi Winters.
Yes, it was. I'm still pinching myself.
Yeah.
She is so lovely. And again, cannot recommend these books more. They're so much fun. They're so cozy. They're such an amazing adventure, great characters and story. So check them out,
I
guys.
literally want to just go read more of Road of Bones right now.
Yeah.
So I might do that. But first, Keetin,
Yes.
what kind of tea are we drinking today?
Well, I felt like we had to bring a tea back out from the vaults. The Hearth tea from Cliche Teas, just because... this is actually, I actually bought Demi a package of this tea at Romanticycon and gave it to her when I first met her. So I figured we should keep drinking Hearthfire thoughts through this tea.
Yes.
And I know Meg's tea room is helped with this one, so I'm
That's
gonna
true.
give it a sip.
It's good stuff.
It is, and it's cooled down because we had such an incredible long
That's
conversation
true.
with Demi.
That's true.
And Meg even told me, she said, try this one cold because it kind of tastes like apple cider, and it does. And because it's 90 degrees today in Los Angeles,
warm.
this is delicious cold.
Yeah.
So even though it's called Hearth, it's good cold.
Yep. Cliche teas with another banger. Nailed it again. Well, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you follow us on all social media platforms. We are at Talk Cozy to Me on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. But we also, I guess, have a Facebook and Threads, those kind of things. So while you're there, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, follow, all the fun stuff. But we want to hear, I guess, if you've read these books, let us know what you think. If you have other fantasy books that you love, tell us. We want to hear what you're reading these days.
Yeah. Can't wait to hear your favorite parts of these books. No spoilers, though.
Yes.
I think we were pretty spoiler-free in that interview. I'm kind of proud of us.
I only heard really like one thing that was kind of a spoiler for me.
I think we could bleep.
Yeah, but I heard it.
I know you heard it, but we
My
could
mind
bleep it for everybody
my mind
else.
is forever ruined now.
It's okay. Dylan knows what happens,
I
but
knew what I
nobody
was
else
getting
needs to
into.
know. He did.
Yep.
He should have finished the book. But until next time, stay cozy, y'all. Bye-bye.